Welcome, everybody, to another Tavern Talks podcast where we sit down with people from the community, streamers, content creators, and today we're actually joined by somebody from ZeniMax, one of the community managers for the Elder Scrolls Online, Gina Bruno. So thank you for taking time out of your day to be here today, Gina.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Gina's actually spent 14 years with ZeniMax, and the last 9 has actually been as a community manager.
I started at the company, I think I was like the 6th person there or something. It was literally the beginning of the company. And the only other folks there was, Matt Fire, Rich, a few others. So it's been quite a journey to kind of see the company start off from just this tiny little office with like not enough space for desks, 2 bathrooms, like all the way into having this gigantic office space with hundreds of employees. It's been quite a journey. I'm really lucky to have been able to see it sort of from the ground up.
And one of the things we talk about a lot here on the channel is we talk about how it's about the journey more than it is about the destination. So do you mind telling us a little bit about the journey that led you not only to kind of becoming a community manager at ESO, but just kind of getting into the gaming industry in general?
Yeah, so mine isn't as interesting as some other people because I've only been at ZOS the entire time. A lot of other people have been at various other studios and, have moved around a lot. I've lived in Maryland my entire life. I've only ever worked at ZOS. So in that regard, I am both lucky and fortunate. And it also makes it just a little bit more boring because I can't say, oh, I've lived all over the world. Nope, Maryland, that's it. I always kind of wanted to get into the video game industry. I've always been into games since I was little. I can't remember if my first system was the original Nintendo or the black and white Game Boy. I was always kind of really into Nintendo games and everything, and I wanted to work there. So my goal was to graduate college and move to Seattle. And then I would figure it out from there. All of us adults are probably like, yeah, why would you do that? But at the time, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, it made perfect sense to me. In any case, that didn't happen. So even in college, I studied computer science because I figure, well, I want to make games. I was kind of self-taught in HTML. And I thought, well, that's kind of like coding. I think I can program. No, it's so much different. It's so much harder. Didn't end up going down that road. So I remember I used to work a lot of retail jobs, and I remember seeing a box for Elder Scrolls Morrowind years and years ago, and the logo said Bethesda on it. Now, for anybody who lives in Maryland, Bethesda is a pretty big city in the area, and I was wondering, like, I wonder if that's, the Bethesda right down the street, because I worked, I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes from where Bethesda was. Sure enough, same company. So I was that person who literally took my resume and went over to Bethesda's office and was like, here's my resume. I'd like a job, please. Of course, they didn't hire me for anything because that's not how you do it. But I just kept on applying and applying for anything that I felt like I could do. And eventually I got a call back and I got an interview and I did not get hired. So I took a job somewhere else. They did the whole like, we'll keep your application on file, whatever. I'm like, yeah, sure you will. They did. And they ended up calling me after I was in orientation for another job, offering me a position. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to take it. That's awesome. Like, foot in the door. And I started off sort of as the office manager because I had experience doing that type of stuff. Once I started, there were so many departments and opportunities that I hadn't even considered. I didn't even know it was a thing. And I eventually started learning more about community management. And I was like, that's what I want to do. That is perfect. And I told him, like, look, I don't have any experience, but I have the passion and this is what I want to do. And I've been at the company a while, like, just give me a chance. So he gave me kind of an entry-level position. And the rest is history. I've been there in that department ever since. And I just feel like that's where I belong. And I really do enjoy it.
Interesting how doors like that will just kind of open. And if you have the passion for it, how you can just kind of keep moving forward and finding like where you fit in that like industry and that place you want to be.
Yep. Oh, I tell people all the time, I got really lucky. I thank my stars all the time that not only was I given a chance at ZOS from the beginning, but our then community director, now live director, kind of just gave me a chance and kind of trusted me. So I got very, very lucky. And I recognize that not everybody is able to do that.
And it's really obvious how passionate you are to everyone in the ESO community, about the community, about your connection with it. And you already kind of covered this a little bit, but I'm just curious, was working with the community always something you wanted to do?
I'm kind of an oddball. I like retail. I like working with people. So I feel like I've just always kind of enjoyed that sort of service aspect. And community requires a lot of that. That is basically the job, right? So I guess without even knowing that I wanted to get into community, deep down, that's kind of what I was meant to do and what I enjoyed doing. It was a no-brainer for me that when I started looking into everything, I'm like, that's it. That's what I want to do. And that's what I meant to do. I don't want to say it was destiny, but maybe a little bit.
Destiny, just a little bit. So for those maybe a little unfamiliar with the different aspects of what a community manager does, because you do a lot of different things. Can you talk about, like, I guess every day is going to be different, but what it entails, like, month to month being a community manager?
We always tell people there is no such thing as an average day when you're working in community, because there's always things popping up. We do have things that, we'll kind of do regularly. So the obvious stuff like patch notes, live streams, messaging, a lot of coordinating with different teams. And that's kind of the part that I think a lot of people don't realize is how many hats you wear as a community manager and how many departments you're actually coordinating with on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of territories. And that's one part that doesn't really get talked about a lot is we have literally community managers around the world supporting ESO and other Bethesda titles. So we do a lot of coordinating with them. We have CMs in Russia, Germany, Spain, UK, Australia. Like, they are all over the place. And especially with time zones, it's difficult to kind of coordinate with them and make sure everybody's up to speed and knows what's going on. So we sync with them pretty regularly. There's events, I could talk forever about event coordination. And even more lately, on top of trying to just stay on top of the forums and kind of what's going on there. We also look at Discord. We look at Reddit. Like, there's all these places where people are. Twitter, Facebook, like, it's all over the place. And we talk with first party a lot. So between Microsoft and Sony, we try and coordinate with them. It's a lot of coordinating, basically. There's a lot to do all the time. So at any given time, I feel like I'm working on a set of patch notes for something, whether it's PTS or PC or console or whatever it is. I also do a lot of coordinating for live streams. So whether it's something like this or our own official live streams or supporting our stream team or whatever, I'm in constant communication with everything kind of regarding that. God, I could just keep going forever. I'll do that for every question. So you tell me when to stop.
Well, definitely, we're going to get into more about, like, live events, stream teams and things like that. But I think it's really interesting because you work with basically almost every department on some level, whether it's getting out the patch notes and making sure, like, that's being communicated. You're mentioning like keeping track of Reddit and Discords, but also making time, not just for people on the stream team, but you're on my podcast today. You've been on podcasts in the past. A lot of people who reach out to you, you're able to communicate with, whether it be through Twitter, things like that. How you're able to still stay so connected with individuals in the community while also needing to communicate with every other, like, kind of moving part there at ZOS and the rest of the community team.
It's not easy, and it's all about prioritizing, honestly. And community is one of the few departments that I think do coordinate with almost every other team, whether it's the dev team or folks kind of more on the business side. We really do integrate with a lot of different teams.
On previous podcasts, we've talked to a lot of streamers about, how, they cultivate their community, how their communities have kind of grown. And then for you and the other community managers, that's the entire community of the Elder Scrolls Online, from the people in a streamer's chat to the people on Reddit to playing the game and things like that. Can you share a little bit of how the community's kind of, like, evolved and changed?
It's no secret to anybody that when we launched the game in 2014, we had a little bit of a rocky start. And, a lot of our communities was like, wasn't really the Elder Scrolls game I was looking for. But, we're all pretty thankful that we were given a chance to kind of turn the ship around and really listen to a lot of the feedback that players were giving us and make a lot of the changes that they wanted to see. And since then, God, I feel like the game has just exploded, and it's continuing to explode with a lot of people kind of, staying and supporting the game for years and years, but also a lot of new people still coming in, even after we've been around for years. So it's been quite a journey to kind of see a lot of the sentiment shift from this isn't quite what I was looking for to people really enjoying ESO, this massive game that the dev team has created.
Yeah, and I think honestly, the rocky start set the tone for a lot of really positive things. Able to listen to community feedback, which still do to this day, and also pivot and try to create something that was what the community was looking for. And I think that really set the stage for what keeps the game still in the like top two, like at the top 5 MMOs for the last like 7 years has been listening to the community. And I think that's really great.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to not only be given that chance to make adjustments to the game, but we really were able to prove ourselves and, like you said, kind of stay in that top list of MMOs that people really enjoy playing.
It's kind of a little bit of a follow-up to that is one of the things during the interview I always kind of liken a community to is we like it to like a garden or a bonsai tree. Like it's something every community takes careful curating, because you're going to have things that pop up that are negative, things that are good depending on your garden or tree. So what are ways you've directly kind of helped cultivate the community over the years to like help it keep growing in like a healthy direction, or just get through maybe some of the storms?
I think that is a great way to put it, that you're kind of cultivating a garden, because it really does feel that way sometimes. First, I just want to say we have a whole team that works really hard to kind of foster a supportive and welcoming community. I'm kind of speaking on behalf of our community team and the entire dev team, but we have a lot of people that work really, really hard in making sure that the community feels heard and supported throughout the years. Especially nowadays with all the different platforms that people use, it can't be done by a single person. It's a team effort. And sometimes, kind of going back to your garden analogy, you kind of have to pick and choose what you water each day and what you focus on. I know for me, I mentioned this earlier, but it's all about prioritizing. And sometimes if you have to just kind of push something off for a day or two and say, you know what, I really don't have time for this today, I'll try and make it tomorrow. It happens, and that's okay. It's a big ass garden to water. So you really do have to choose, which thing is kind of starting to wilt a little bit, what needs my attention, and it changes day to day, honestly.
Before we move on to like talk about the Elder Scrolls Online and other elements, I was just curious, what's been your proudest moment working, either just working at ZeniMax in general as community manager or even before?
I'm not one to kind of pat myself on the back very often. I think being trusted by the company to either do what we feel is the right thing to do or what's worth the effort, that means a lot. And being trusted to go out to events and kind of represent the company on behalf of so many people who, frankly, they're the ones putting this game together, not me. So just having that opportunity to kind of represent ESO and ZOS is really, it makes me happy. When I kind of sit back and think like, wow, I am really lucky that I'm trusted to do this. And not everybody has that luxury of being trusted enough to kind of just run with a random idea that you have one day. I don't know. Yeah. It feels good.
Yeah, I mean, that's really great to be trusted on that level with any position, especially when, like you said, you're working with a bunch of different teams, like every team, and also representing them out to the community. So to be trusted with that is really amazing. Plus being given the freedom to fail, which means, you can try something. If it works out, awesome, great. And if it doesn't, you still were given like that trust and freedom to like try new things.
That's a really great point. And that's something that, the company does allow, is a little bit of room to fail. And I feel like that's a great way to learn and grow, and you can kind of iterate on things. Having that trust to be able to do that, it's scary, when there's thousands of people watching you and you're like, man, that totally flopped. It's like, well, you know what? We tried. And either we just don't do it again next time, or we try something different. But as a whole, we're not afraid to try things, and we're trusted to try things.
So just kind of shifting gears just a little bit to the game itself. Elder Scrolls Online, I think another reason it has a huge fan base is there's so much to do in the game. Dungeons, trials, yes. PvP. We have housing, and the most robust housing and fashion on any MMO I've played.
I know. There's so much to do.
And because of that, everybody has the freedom to play how they want, from people who just play it like a single player game, to people who only do group content. I'm curious, when you do jump in and play, whether it be, for an event, what's the content that you most enjoy about the game?
So in my copious free time, when I do play the game, I definitely enjoy dungeons the most. Shout out to Finn. Whether it's 4-man instance dungeons or public dungeons. Like I'll sometimes just run in and, I'll always find somebody in there and I'll kind of casually join up with them. Sometimes they don't want my help, but it's okay. I force myself on it. I like doing trials, less competitively and more just kind of casually. I've done some vet trials. They're a little intense. I've gotten my skin. I'll usually just kind of do normal trials with, sometimes some streamers or guild, whatever. I like dabbling with antiquities. I feel like kind of a low stress, just kind of explore and do your digging. I like that because, I don't know. I've gotten to the point now with games where I don't want to be stressed out when I'm playing. Like, I just want to kick back and do my thing. I know I see chat saying, what's free time? I don't know. Somebody let me know when you find it. But when I do have a little free time, I like kind of the group content, honestly.
I really also enjoy antiquities. I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's the coolest new system that's been introduced. As somebody with ADHD, just going around collecting leads and then digging up treasures, to me, it's really kind of like a soothing thing, a lot more soothing than any other content in the game. So I appreciate it. Like you're saying, sometimes you just want to relax.
Not to sit here and plug other games, but like Animal Crossing, perfect example of like, just want to sit on the couch and do some fishing and move my furniture around and just kind of not worry about like trying to win. That's not to say I don't like hardcore games. They have a time and place, but lately it's been more the day is done and I'm just here to relax.
Something I also find very unique about Elder Scrolls is there's a lot of people in the community, be it housing contests or PvP dueling contests. How rewarding is it for somebody who's come up with a lot of these big contests to get people engaged, to see the community that, you've been part of fostering rise up and honestly add a lot to the game just through their own efforts to run these events?
And gosh, first of all, let me just say, I wish we could run more contests officially. They are so fun, but they take so much work. And not to make excuses, but like, they're a pretty major undertaking to put contests together. So seeing the community kind of take this into their own hands and create a bunch of contests, we know firsthand how much work and effort that requires. So, I mean, bravo. We love seeing it. And, when we're able to get more of a heads up that contests are happening, sometimes people will ping us on the side and be like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. We'll try and promote it and at least retweet it on Twitter or something, just to get more visibility out there. Yeah, seeing others kind of take that torch and build upon it, it's pretty awesome. And boy, do we appreciate the time and effort that takes.
Have there been any community run contests? I mean, obviously you've seen a lot over the years that have really caught your eye, or just like when it was brand new, something that was really like, oh wow, I didn't even think of that.
Honestly, the one that comes to mind first is Hart Ellis. I'm sure many of you are familiar. He's on our stream team, but he also runs housing contests. God, I feel like all the time. Like the frequency that he does these contests and also the quality of submissions that he gets. It blows our mind. We have, so we use Slack at work. We have channels for all the different teams and just anything you could possibly think of. I feel like there's a channel for it. But in the housing channel, they're always sharing, contest submissions from Hart, and they're always fantastic. So it's like, not only is the community amazing for creating all this stuff all the time, but the amount of contests that he runs constantly is like, man, I almost wish we could aspire to doing everything that Hart does, because it's quite a feat, honestly.
Big shout out actually for Hart Ellis. Huge actually inspiration to me, because whether it's whether it's housing streams or runs a lot of informative streams, like here's how you can make gold, here's how you can do this thing. Does just so much for the community. Such an inspiring person. It was really cool to see when you updated the stream team that he'd moved up to like a partner position, because I think he really definitely deserved that.
He really is. He puts in a ton of work and effort, and honestly, like all of our streamers do, but he definitely has been very consistent in supporting the game and the community. That he is a gem for sure.
And then I do want to ask, just because Blackwood is just on the horizon, we're only a matter of weeks away, and it's bringing so many new things to the game, whether it's things that have already come out, getting ready for it, like the champion point system. We've been looking at companions and new housings and zones. Is there anything like that's coming here with Blackwood that really like excites you, or that you see a lot of excitement for in the community?
I feel like this is kind of the standard answer here, but companions, like that's a huge system coming with the chapter. I think it'll be nice for those times when like I'm playing off hours and not a lot of my friends are on. But like if it's late at night, nobody's around, and let's say I run into a world boss or something, like it's nice to have that little extra help sometimes. I'm excited for that. I know a lot of the community is super excited about it. I see somebody in chat saying endeavors. Those are going to be pretty cool. We see a lot of excitement for that. New trial, of course. I haven't run it yet on PTS or internal, so we're probably going to do a live stream after we launch and run through the trial.
And kind of along those same lines, new chapters get revealed in January. Huge event. Here's the big first trailer, and then we usually we get the lead-in quests and a few dungeons. But how do you and the team actually maintain that hype? Because you kind of have to keep that hype going from January when we first see
Yep.
Dagon with his glow up appearance, all the way through to when June launched.
What is with our community and the thirst for Dagon, first of all? Like, what is the deal with everyone? It's not even a person. Everybody's so into him.
It's the four big arms.
I guess so. I
For
mean,
me.
he does have some impressive looking arms and abs, right? And the back. Everybody's always into the back. Yeah, maintaining the hype when we announce something that early, it is, I keep going back to how it's a team effort. There's all these teams involved, but it really does take an army to kind of keep people interested in this thing that we've announced 4 or 5 months ago now. Consider I'll say the non-dev team. So folks like marketing and PR, they do a lot of this. Continue the hype. There's a lot there and a lot of teams involved in making sure that ESO is always kind of in the forefront of people's minds.
Before we kind of move on to talking about conventions, stream teams, and yourself a little bit more, one last question I would like to ask everybody about the Elder Scrolls Online is there's a hashtag that everybody likes to use on Twitter and other places. It's the hashtag ESOFam. Every single guest I've had has answered it differently. I'm just curious, when you see that hashtag, what does it mean to you?
I think streamers created the ESOFam hashtag, if I remember correctly, a couple of years ago. That wasn't even something that we did. The community just kind of came up with it, which was great. And it's really kind of taken off since then. For me, there's some saying about how you can pick your friends, but not your family, or something along those lines. And great friends are, a chosen family, I would say. The ESOFam hashtag, a lot of times we'll see people being really supportive of each other, helpful, welcoming, to new players. If there's somebody who tweets hey, ESOFam, I'm new to the game. Boy, you just see them bum rushing and just grabbing them and bringing them into the fold. And everybody's just kind of really out there to help each other. And like any family, I feel like sometimes they fight. Sometimes there's some bickering or disagreements, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, we all have something in common with each other. And it's been really nice to kind of just see that hashtag become more than just a hashtag,
ZOS has been very giving compared to some other companies, not as a negative comparison, but just the fact that every streamer on the platform gets drops very often. And sometimes that's something that's reserved just for people who would be part of partners or stream teams. I'm curious, why such a deep connection to the streaming community to support the entire community in that way?
One of the things I try and remember is that streamers, they have a ton of games to choose from. And they made a conscious decision to choose our game over any others. That's the game that they want to play and be a part of and promote. And that's pretty amazing when you think about how many games there are that they can pick, right? And I think with Twitch kind of gaining a lot of popularity over the years, I mentioned earlier, we kind of go where the people are. Seeing, so many new streamers on Twitch and people watching Twitch, and it's becoming a lot more mainstream. It's kind of a no-brainer for us to support that too. And we do try and support other content creators. It's not just about live streamers. We love our live streamers, but we also have podcasters and fan artists, build creators, folks that have entire fan sites. And we do the best we can to kind of support everybody as much as we can.
Kind of focusing just a little bit on the streaming community for a moment. The stream team is something that I think is really special because of the care that went into it. You have streamers in all these different regions, but also a variety of what they do. You have somebody like we already talked about in J Hart, does a lot of housing and economy-based stuff, but you just added somebody like Pain in the Axe, who's solely dedicated to PvP. The team seems to me to not just be curated in terms of, who is the biggest streamer, but in making sure you're representing time zones, different regions of the world, but also different elements that people like. I'm just curious, with that amount of care, like what went into initially building the stream team?
I feel like the stream team was like this random pet project. You know, it was just kind of an idea that we had one day, like, oh, we have all these people streaming our game. We should really try and support them somehow. And it kind of just became a way to more officially support those who were supporting us. It started off just with a few hand-picked streamers, people that we were already familiar with and that we already had a relationship with, people that we knew were dedicated to ESO in the community. So we wanted to kind of support them a little bit more officially. But eventually it started to get to a point where it's like, well, we may not be seeing everybody that is interested, or maybe we don't know that somebody is interested and wants to join this program. So that's when we added something on the website where you can kind of fill out a form. And that just kind of at least gives us an indication of like, hey, I'm a streamer, I'm here, and I'm really interested in supporting your game, and I want to be supported too. So that definitely helped. But it definitely has grown in scope from what it originally was. It used to be, you know, just this small group of streamers, and now we have 52, I'll call them English speaking streamers, because we also have territory stream teams. Those are folks who don't stream in English. So it's been quite a journey to kind of take it as just an initial, wouldn't this be nice kind of idea, and turning it into this pretty elaborate program that the company is supporting.
You also see a lot of members of the stream team get opportunities, whether it's being on the events. Recently, Maplinator tanked a dungeon on a Bethesda stream. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I don't think I've seen very many other like partner programs or stream teams or things like that where you're pulling from that team to take part in these big kind of like reveal events.
Yeah, it's been nice having a group of streamers that we trust and that we can lean on for kind of different activations or just things that, hey, we need another person. And, you know, we know that they're already set up for streaming and we can trust them and they know how to play. So that is definitely something that we do enjoy doing. And there's so many of them now. And even if we don't have somebody on the stream team that, you know, has time or can volunteer, gosh, I mean, we have a whole directory of streamers that we can choose from that are really solid. Being able to have that full list of people that we can just hand over to somebody and be like, here, we recommend all these people, you know, take your pick based on what you're looking for. It's really nice to have, you know, just that core group of people that we can trust. And not too long ago, we did create kind of that additional partner tier on the stream team. These are folks that I would say are like the most dedicated and they have really strong channels. And, you know, if you're watching one of their streams, they're folks that, you know, we really do trust and lean on. And sometimes we'll have like a private call with the dev team with them, give them a chance to kind of ask questions or get some feedback from them. And again, it's nice to have that group that we can really trust, and we do work together a lot with them.
I do want to just ask one question because it does come up. Curious if you give somebody like advice, like if somebody wanted to be on the stream team, like things they should like work on as a streamer or things that the team looks for. So like not like you need to do this, this, and this, but like here's something that you might want to focus on if you want to, you know, eventually one day when we have the spot, join the team.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we've been working on for a long time because we get so many applications. Like, there has to be a way to start kind of culling down the list a little bit because, I mean, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of applications. So we'll start off initially just looking at, do you meet the requirements? Like, we have a 1,000-person follower requirement, just so we know that your channel is kind of well established and you've been streaming for a little while and you have an audience. We try not to focus too hard on numbers, but that at least gives us something to work off of. You know, people will apply saying, well, I don't have the followers yet, but wait until you have it, please. Because otherwise, we can't look at it. We get too many applications. We also look at making sure that you're streaming ESO regularly. I mean, this is the ESO stream team, so you should be streaming ESO. We will get people who say, oh, I'll stream your game more if I'm on the team. It's like, well, no, you should already be streaming the game if you're interested in joining the team. But once we kind of cull down that initial list, again, we try not to focus too much on numbers, but there is some benefit to having a good, I'll say, like follower to concurrent viewer ratio. We do look for people who have slightly higher concurrent viewership because there is some truth to, you know, what is your reach and are people interested in your channel? I would say one of the most important things is engagement and how you're engaging with your viewers. So once we kind of cull down the list to a manageable amount, we really do look at every channel. So when I go through and I look at somebody's VOD, if I happen to click on anywhere in the timestamp and, a streamer is just kind of sitting there streaming, doing one of those, it's like, well, why aren't you talking to chat? Like, I see people in chat talking, like, why don't you engage with them? And they're asking you questions and you want to engage with everybody. This is not to say you have to talk all the time. Now we're going to see people like, all right, I can't stop talking. Like, I have to keep talking. Now I'm just going to make something up, so I'm not quiet. Like, just engage with your viewers, both in stream and even outside of stream. Like, we'll sometimes check Twitter accounts and everything. It's like, see what kind of things they're tweeting. And, are they into the game? And do they like being a part of the community? And do they want to really kind of grow more and leverage themselves? And we can sort of help you do that. So, people who put in a lot of the effort, like what you're doing right now, doing these podcasts and everything with the community, it's great to see. And those are the types of streamers we like to see, are the ones that really look like they want to be there and they want to be part of that community.
Kind of segueing a little bit from there, we like to also take some time on the podcast to like get to know the person behind the job. So, obviously, obviously you do a lot of different things for the community. Sometimes there's not really necessarily an off button because, like you said, sometimes things happen like the middle of the night and things. But what kind of hobbies do you have, like outside of like work?
None. Work is my hobby. No, I'm just kidding. I honestly, I love work. I love working. I love staying busy. Like, I've always just been that kind of person. My team always makes fun of me because I never take days off. I don't know. If I'm not doing something or accomplishing something, I feel really bad. So I'm always kind of trying to do something, whether it's work or go outside or go somewhere or whatever. I do like to work on cars. I used to a lot more than I do now. I used to be really into car shows. When I had a VW, I would go to a lot of VW shows kind of up and down the East Coast and show my car there. And then I got a Mazda Speed, and I kind of did like some car meetups and what have you, but I kind of started to fall out of it, and now I just don't have time. But I do try and, just kind of tinker along with, I have a Subaru now, WRX, and recently installed a front lip, but was not able to put in one of the screws. I feel like every time you do something with a car, like something goes wrong. Every time this screw won't go in, or I can't get this out, or this is rusted, or, well, I guess I'll leave that the way it is. Like, there's just always something that goes wrong, but I don't know. I enjoy it. I've had fun with it. Recently during the pandemic, I feel like I've gotten into plants a lot. Like, every time I go out, I buy another plant. I don't know why, because I don't have a green thumb at all, but like, got all these plants everywhere all of a sudden. Just like doing some gardening outside. I do try and play games when time allows. Some of my favorite games, like I will always play no matter what system it's on or whatever. Zelda games, love them. Breath of the Wild, I don't care what anyone says about how the weapons get destroyed. I don't care. One of my favorite games ever. I love God of War games, which, is a stark contrast to when I was talking about Animal Crossing. I mean, I don't know if you can get any more opposite, but I love those games so much. I mean, that studio just, hats off. Anything that Team Ico does, so like Shadow of the Colossus and all of them, again, like complete opposites of what I'm talking about here, but they're so gorgeous and they're fun and different. I love different types of games. That's not just kind of, the same old that, you've seen a bunch of times. I do play ESO in my off time sometimes.
Games have always been an amazing experience, but I feel like in the modern age, the technology is finally there. Like, even games like God of War that are at their heart an action game still tells this like beautiful like father and son story in the most recent edition.
Yeah, and it's just fun. They have a great story and they're fun. I think they're fun. At least
they're really fun.
I love dogs too. Like, I've always been a dog person. My guy's getting a little old, so we still go on walks, just not as far as we used to. But I've always really been into dogs. I used to volunteer at, it was the Baltimore I guess it was technically the Maryland SPCA. Again, back when I had lots of free time. Can't do it anymore, but I do love my puppies.
I do think it's really interesting that like one of your hobbies, even if you can't do as much anymore, is like working on cars. Cause I kind of feel like you're talking about being a community manager, all the different hats you wear, all the different, things you have to do, people you have to work with, departments you have to talk to, and then you talk about cars. You're talking about like, you put in a screw here, take out a screw there, and now this thing needs fixed, and it's It's kind of interesting that your hobby is very kind of problem solving oriented when you're talking about
Yeah.
working on cars, and your job's also very kind of situated for that kind of problem solving mindset.
I love doing like DIY stuff at home, installing flooring or, replacing this plumbing or whatever. I love kind of just taking something that needs to be replaced or fixed or whatever and making it better, which I guess, can kind of mirror community management a little bit. We've done a lot in our house, and I just kind of figure like, I don't know, anything I do, I can't screw it up so much that we can't pay somebody to come and fix it. So I don't know. I enjoy kind of dabbling with that kind of stuff.
Another focus we have here on the channel is mental health, particularly when it comes to like self-care and things like that. Since we've talked, like the podcast has shown this is a very involved career. There's a lot that goes into it. You're working a lot. How do you strive to maintain like a good, work-life balance? How do you I think it's impossible for anyone to truly find balance, but we can work on it constantly. So I'm curious what you do to kind of like maintain that, like that balance.
Yeah, it's especially hard for a game that is essentially 24/7, give or take a couple maintenances or whatever. Like the game is always on, so it's really hard to turn yourself off when the game is on and the community is on, and there's always somebody, messaging or needing something or what have you. I mentioned before that I do love to work almost to a fault. Like I know myself and I know when I need to take a day off, but I really do kind of like to stay busy and make sure I'm on top of things. And, I'm lucky that we have a team at ZOS, our own community team and the dev team that is super supportive. My husband is very understanding and supportive also. A lot of times I'll say like, oh, I wanted to work on this thing later tonight, and he'll take care of whatever so I can focus on my stuff. The company also provides a lot of really great resources, both, supporting our mental health, especially this year. It's been, well, I guess more last year, but also this year, it's been really difficult on a lot of people, myself included. I don't talk a lot about it publicly, but there's been a lot of struggles. They have given us wellness days. Like if we just need a day, kind of just unplug a little bit, we can do that. They're pretty flexible with our schedules. They do offer like counseling services, which is really nice. We have some really great benefits at ZOS, and they are very supportive in making sure that we have an outlet and we're staying healthy physically and mentally.
That's awesome. That's great that you have the support network. You have your husband like understands your work, and also that ZOS as a company provides that.
We're very lucky.
Can't always be off, meaning even when we do have our off time, our downtime to unwind, sometimes we'll see something that sparks an idea or gets those like creative juices flowing and things like that.
Yep.
Curious, as somebody who works in that field, has there been a moment where you're offline and something's like giving you like that jolt of inspiration for an idea or a project, and kind of like where those inspirations might like come from, or just like how that kind of works for you?
I take nighttime showers. I find it very relaxing, and I feel like that is kind of my thinking time, when I can just get away from everything. And I use that time to kind of just think and reflect and come up with things. And there's also times when I'll just kind of plop on the couch at night with my laptop and, research some stuff or jot down some ideas or whatever. Because, I do have a kid, and things can be a little chaotic sometimes. So after everyone's gone to bed and it's late and it's quiet, oh, that peace and quiet, it's just so great. Sometimes I'll use that time to just kind of think a little bit about, sometimes work stuff, or, I'll look at what other companies are doing and try and get some ideas or whatever. So definitely nighttime. Nighttime is the time to do all that stuff. Daytime is too busy.
Yeah, that's great. So I have some rapid fire questions we've started doing. These are questions that come up often during my stream. So they're, completely off the cuff, no right or wrong answer. It's more just, I like to see how people think about them. So we don't have to have a big discussion. So just a big one that we've discussed a lot on the channel is a Pop-Tart a ravioli?
Oh man, and you're asking an Italian that? I'm going to say no, because I consider raviolis savory. Pop-Tarts are sweet. They are more of a treat / non-nutritious breakfast food. But ravioli, I would say it's got to be savory for me.
Next one is, do you feel that pineapple can go on pizza?
Oh my God. I love pineapple on pizza. That's my go-to is pineapple, and then sometimes like ham or bacon or something, like you need a meat on there. But I mean, I see people who are like, pineapple. No, it's so good. I love that sweetness and just, pineapple's amazing on anything, I think. I've had pineapple on burgers that's really good.
I love
Try it
pineapple
if you
on
haven't.
burgers. I love pineapple.
It'll blow
on
your
burgers.
mind.
All right, 2 more rapid fires for the hot button questions here on the Loctavian channel. Which do you pour first, milk or cereal?
What do I pour first? Cereal all the time.
Yeah.
Because you put the cereal and then I put, a little bit of milk on top, making sure I hit almost every piece of cereal. I have some OCD tendencies, so one of the things is I need to make sure my cereal has equal amounts of milk.
Very fair. Some people do pour milk first, so that's what the question comes. And then the most current question that we have: if you bake 2 separate lasagnas and you stack them on top of each other, do you have 1 or 2 lasagnas?
Ooh, I have never considered that. I guess 1, because there's no limit on how tall a lasagna can be. Like, who's to say you can't have a bunch of layers? That's all it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, 1 is definitely the most popular answer. We've had a week-long debate over is it 1 or 2 lasagnas, though. It's so thank you for indulging me in a couple quick rapid fire questions. Always interested to see how people think about those little food questions.
I love it.
So to kind of wind down a little bit here, I'm curious. A lot of pursuing someone's dream is, betting on yourself, taking chances and putting yourself out there. As someone who's achieved so much, put yourself out there and kind of gotten into a role that, was a dream job. What advice could you give to somebody else who wants to pursue their dreams, no matter what that career dream might be?
I feel like everyone is going to say, just keep trying. That's obvious, right? Of course you're going to keep trying if it's your dream job. Especially nowadays with social media, don't be afraid to reach out to people. A lot of people have DMs open, or you can kind of tweet at them. That's a luxury that, not to sound old, but back in my day, we didn't have that luxury. So if you're following somebody that is working at a studio or somewhere that you're interested in, shoot your shot. The worst that happens is they don't answer. Who cares? Just try, right? And the other thing I want to call out is, especially with the rise in social media, for God's sake, be mindful of what you're posting publicly, because companies look at your social media pages. They look at your Twitch channel, they look at your Twitter, they look at all that stuff. Don't pretend like nobody's watching, and keep in the back of your head, pretend that a potential employer is always watching, and just watch what you're posting and watch what you're saying. If it's something that you think an employer wouldn't like or wouldn't want to see, don't post it. That is my best advice. Present yourself professionally.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice, because people still think people just, look at a resume, and used to be just a resume and an interview because social media wasn't there. But yeah, with the prevalence of social media, people will always look at all of those factors. So I think that's really great advice. I'm glad you shared that advice, because I think some people don't think about, how people are going to, they're going to look at you as a whole, and they can gather so much from social media.
All right. So unfortunately, I do need to leave. However, I would love to answer questions. So if you want to do a part 2, or we can pick this up again later, or whatever you want to do, I'm flexible.
Sometime in the future, and we can jump back on and have a part 2, just where we just do the Q&A section. That would be wonderful to wrap things up with this part 1, and then I'll message you and we can figure out how to do the Q&A. What's the next thing you're really excited about, or that's next for you?
Oh gosh. I mean, obviously chapter launch is right around the corner. That's in a couple weeks. So working towards that. Next gen launch is coming up. So on Xbox Series X and S and PlayStation 5. We're working on, some of you may remember last year, we did this whole hosting during, what was last year? Was it Greymore? During Greymore PC launch, we hosted a bunch of streamers all week. We're going to be doing that again this year for Blackwood. So we'll have information on that probably in the next week or so. We're working on another really cool activation involving a lot of live streaming. So I'm not going to spill the beans, but it's been a lot of work, and we're excited to see everything kind of come to fruition. QuakeCon is in August. So we did put out an announcement. That's going to be August, I think 19th to 21st. So that'll be digital again this year. We're just kind of starting on a lot of the initial planning for that.
So yeah, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk about yourself, talk about your journey into community managing, the stream team, and all of that. Thank you again.
Oh my
so
gosh,
much, Gina.
I talked way too much. I'm sorry. I hope everybody enjoyed it. But yeah, I definitely would love to answer some questions too. So we'll make it work.
We'll make it work. Awesome. You have a great rest of your day. Thank you again so much. You have a great one.
Thank you so much.